Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to another awesome, exciting episode of Paranormal Axetivities. And today's episode is brought to you by Restaurant.com. With Restaurant.com, you can save at thousands of restaurants across the country with just a few clicks. Their dining deals range from $5 to $100, never expire, and cost you a fraction of face value. Dinner has never been easier with Restaurant.com, used for dine-in, takeout, or delivery. Restaurant.com is offering our listeners 50% off their next purchase by going to www.restaurant.com/podcast. That's www.restaurant.com/podcast for 50% off your next purchase. Restaurant.com, the best deal every meal. Now, welcoming back to Paranormal Activities for the second time, the host of Between the Pipes podcast, Mr. Archie. What's going on, brother?
How's it going? Not too much.
Oh, yeah, man. I got your name right, I think, this time. I remember last time I messed it up and nobody told me until like 3 days later, but we're good now.
Yes, we are. We're good.
Well, man, welcome back to the show. I appreciate you coming back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And so tonight, like, this is kind of cool. Basically, it's going to be about paranormal attraction or possibly paranormal attraction, because the last time you were on the show, we had quite a bit of phenomenal stories, and a lot of people liked you quite a bit. They were telling me, messaging me or whatever, like, that was awesome stories. So, but that's not after that episode. Your message to me telling all of us over at AEE that you kept having bumps in the night. Like, literally, it sounded like a couple of times, bumps in the night. So, like, what's going on?
I wish I could tell you what's going on, but I mean, I will definitely share with you guys what's been happening since. So I gotta say, probably even in this last week alone, I've had maybe every other night some sort of a weird thing going on in the middle of the night, including one yesterday while I was just sitting here typing away. So I'll start off with that one because I still can't understand what was happening, and I don't even know where to go with it. So I've got my laptop next to me that I use for my other job and for surveillance outside the house. You know, you can never be too cautious.
A lot of crime up there in Canada.
Yeah, a lot of those Americans come up to Canada and cause stuff, right?
Jumping the border now, man.
Yeah. So I'm sitting here typing away, and out of the corner of my eye, I catch my cursor going across my screen and exiting the full screen mode into small preview. And I kind of stop and I look around and I'm like, okay, there's no mouse there. There's no attachment. There's no way my elbow could have done it. So I just double click back on it, full screen, stared at it for a bit. Okay, she's good to go. Then all of a sudden it flickers and it says no signal. So, okay, weird. I walk over to the other side of the room to the window where the camera is, and the wire's connected, the light's on, camera's active. So I thought, okay, maybe it's got to be some sort of internet issue, some sort of connectivity issues. So I sit back down, look over to my computer, and the screen, because there's a delay, I can see myself walking away from the camera. And as I sit down, I look over back at the screen again, and I see, it's weird. Like, I see a shadow that waved, almost like it was me waving at the camera, but I didn't wave. So I was like, okay then. Shut down the software, turn it back on, camera's back on, everything's good. And that was it. Like, that just happened with no explanation whatsoever. And I know there's a delay with the camera, but I saw myself walk away from it. So I'm not sure where the wave came from, because it's second story of the house. So there's nobody outside, right?
Sure.
So yeah, that kind of freaked me out a little bit. I had to get out and go outside for a quick walk and kind of shake that off.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, I don't know what that was, or if it was just something that just may have looked like a wave. I don't know, but this thing was playing games with me all day. So I said, okay, done with that. Don't care for it. In fact, right now I'm going to shut that down so that nothing happens while we're sitting here.
Not a bad idea. So this is a live episode of Paranormal Activity, just like last time. We have some listeners here, Yvonne, Joe. What's up, guys? Appreciate y'all watching. And for this episode, I brought up the EMF meter. So for you guys at home that don't know or can't see it, basically just basically tells you if there's a ghost around, to keep it simple. There's a lot of science behind it, whatever, but keep it simple. And in the past, I've had it out during a conversation like this one, and it has lit up. So if you're having all this attraction like you're having, we'll see what happens. And then one question too regarding that camera story: have you ever looked back? Like, does it record in like movement and stuff like that? Like, can you just like break it down and only watch the movement on the camera?
So typically, if I had a memory card in there, yes, but I don't record usually out of this particular camera because this is more just of a live eye for me. Whereas the one outside can record, and I never thought to look and see if anything funny happened around the same time on the camera that actually records. So I might do that tonight later on and see if coincidentally anything happened with that one there, because that would be pretty interesting.
It would be. That's one of those things with my camera system. I have one as well, and I don't really look anymore. But when I first got it, I kind of watched throughout the night. Especially if like a downstairs camera that is in the living room that my wife hates, but hey, I'm paranoid, and I would like watch that one. But I never saw anything. I'm a little jealous there. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see if this thing detects any sort of activity at all.
It might. So far, nothing. I have it away from everything. So if it does light up, it's very possible. So we'll see. So what else happened? So I know you were on the show. I think it was back in October, like early October.
Yeah.
What happened like right after that night?
So that night, I don't recall if it was exactly that night or the following, but what ended up happening was, again, the constant, hearing the sounds at night, like someone's talking and it's always muffled. I can never tell what's being said. So kept hearing that. And I've gotten to a point now where I choose to ignore it and just, it is what it is. I don't know what it is. I don't want to know what it is. It's there. It's kind of become my constant sound that allows me to somewhat come to a rest, I guess. But the weird thing was, there was a point where, and we had spoken about this, I think it was sleep paralysis.
Oh yeah.
So I'm laying in bed and I felt like somebody had both my arms pinned down to the bed, and I wanted to get up, and I felt so forced down. Like I couldn't get up to like just walk away or go to the bathroom. And it felt as if there was a resistance, but not enough to like, disable me from being able to get up. But it took me a while because I kind of sat there and it's like, what's going on? Got up, walked out, went to the bathroom, come back, lay down. All right, everything's cool. What could that have been? And it struck the conversation that we had about the potential of that sleep paralysis thing, right? So that was my answer to that. And I thought, okay, this is just one of those things where it could be anything. I mean, I'm sure there might be some sort of a medical explanation to why you might feel that way, some sort of blood flow through your veins. I don't know, muscle relaxants, who knows? Sure. So that was the one thing. But what really got me was 2 nights ago, I'm sleeping and I wake up to what I thought was a loud bang on the door. And without even bothering to get up, I just assumed it was one of the cats knocking something over. So I just looked at my phone, saw the time. I said, way too late in the middle of the night to care about this. I'm going back to bed. So I turned over to my side and shut my eyes, and that's it. I don't remember what happened immediately after that. But what I do remember is at some point after that, I felt this like a brush along my arm and along right down the side of my body. I kind of looked up and I was like, what in the hell was that? So I look over and Jen's sleeping. She's facing the other way, not even anywhere near me. And no cats, no little one jumping into our bed in the middle of the night. I have no idea what that was. And I just looked around the room and I thought, okay, could it have been the cat ran in really quick? But usually when the cat runs in and jumps on the bed, there's always a purr or a meow or some sort of a sound that it'll make. But this was it. It was, I felt as if from shoulder right down to like my knee, a constant feel. And I don't know what that was. So kind of shook that off, had some water, back to bed. the weird part is that at some point, and I wish I would have checked the time when that happened. At some point, I remember opening my eyes, looking at my phone, and again, this time it was about 5:30 in the morning, and it felt, I wasn't sure if it was me dreaming that I was waking up in a dream. Like it felt like it was one of those, is this really happening or am I dreaming that this is happening? So I don't know what was real that night and what wasn't. So then I kept thinking, did I actually wake up? Did I actually feel that on my arm? Or was that me dreaming in my dream? Really messed up.
That is mess. That's like some Inception right there, whatever that movie's called.
Yeah, yeah. So I was so confused by it, and of course nobody else hears this stuff. Nobody else feels anything in the house. So it's like I can't even talk to anybody to say, hey, did you hear that? Did you see that? Did you feel that? And this one kind of messed me up for a few days because I don't know if it was one of those things where I was so tired and exhausted and again dreaming in a dream. I don't know if that even makes any sense.
Okay.
But yeah, crazy. Like I can't explain it. I don't know if you've ever had anything like that or if you've ever spoken to anybody.
I mean, I don't know about the Inception stuff. I've had I've suffered sleep paralysis for shit. What time is it? What year is it now? 13 years now. I think I've had sleep paralysis. But typically with that though, like once you break out of it, it's in my experience. Once I break out of it, that's gone. I'm no longer, groggy. I don't have anywhere weird thoughts. It's just I'm awake now. I know what happened, and that's the end of it. So if you're still groggy or still experiencing certain things after that episode, a little bit different than what I've experienced. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, man.
I don't know.
Last night we had a couple of bang. You mentioned you heard a bang when we went to bed last night. Danae and I, we laid down, and as soon as we laid down and turned all the stuff off, we heard 3 big bangs, and it sounded like it came from downstairs. And so we checked. We have 2 cats and a dog too, and we looked around, and they were all accounted for in the living room. So we don't know what that was. We heard the banging, and we heard there was a pause, and then another 3 bangs. She's like, "Did you hear that?" I'm like, "I did," and it's probably Archie's ghost fucking with me.
See, now, if I was you, I'd be a little concerned here because I find I'm specifically paying attention to the fact that you said you heard 3 bangs twice. If I'm not mistaken, earlier this week, you let me hear an audio clip.
It was 3 bangs twice.
From way back when you first started doing this stuff, and you heard 3 bangs twice. And you let me hear it, and I heard those.
Oh, yeah. And that was things that came from the garage. Yeah, man. And that was the same. And like from last night, it came from the same part of the house, it sounded like. Yeah, I don't know, man. And there's a lot of theories with like 3s, like bangs of 3s or whatever, the number 3. Mm-hmm. I don't know, but I'm not worried about it. Whatever. I got Sage.
I still haven't done that yet, but I feel like now I definitely got to do something.
You should. Get a few more comments here. Tank is loving my shirt tonight. Yeah, man, it's good stuff. It's freezing up here. All my shit's in the laundry. So yeah, I'm being classy tonight here at Paranormal Activities. Yeah, Tyler watching. Yeah, man. So what else happened since the last podcast?
So the other thing was with I remember at one point I had told you that story about the guy on the bridge or whatever it was on the bridge.
Yes, sir.
So of course, every time you talk about something, it kind of triggers things and you start thinking about it more and looking into things. I tried to look up what that could possibly mean or if other people have ever reported anything like that. And I mean, I didn't know where to start looking with regards to what's real and what's not and bogus sites out there. But I read somewhere someone who mentioned a similar experience, not to mine, more similar to the ones I'd mentioned about my mom when she was young, and there was that figure on the top of that bridge. And the one I read, it was a little bit more bizarre. And again, it could be that this person just made up a really good story, but it was weird because it was very, very similar, except they said they saw this figure jump off the bridge. And when they went to go look, there was nothing there. So there was no, garbage bag or anything that could have possibly resembled it. Something went flying off this bridge. There was apparently 5 people there who saw it. And when they went to go see, there was nothing that could possibly suggest anything fell off that bridge. And that was, I believe, when I was reading, I want to say it was somewhere in Spain. I'd have to look up the article again, but it was really weird that they said, very, very similar story. And they actually saw this thing fly off this bridge. And when they went to go look, there was nothing there. So it makes you wonder if this stuff is happening, how many more people see it or maybe think they see it and don't believe it or are just afraid to even talk about it, because something like this in some countries it's probably looked at as like, don't talk about this kind of crap. You know what I mean? Like they'll throw you in jail or something.
The older school people for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was interesting. And I was kind of hoping that I would have had some sort of, not necessarily a similar thing happen, but maybe something more would come of it and maybe shed some light on what it could have been. But to this day, I mean, I really do wish I had that guy's information who said he saw the same thing as I did, because that would have been an interesting story to share with, from his point of view too.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of those things too. I mean, I'm sure that's what's cool about now with multiple podcasts and all these shows we have and just meeting people over the internet. You can really connect and hear the same stories, because there's nothing more validating than, experiencing something and then somebody else that you don't know also experienced it in a different time, different place, all that good stuff. It makes you less crazy, like we discussed before. But with that bridge, have you ever looked up the history of the bridge, or maybe suicides in that area or murders in that area or anything like that?
Yeah, and I looked it up, and I know that particular bridge, not in that spot where I saw it, but there's the bridge. It's quite a ways away though, but 3 or 4 bridges past that, there's one bridge that is known as one of the highest suicide rates that happen at this bridge, only because it overlooks. It's like a valley, and there's train tracks underneath it that are well below street level. So, I mean, taking a dive off of that, your chances of survival are they're slim to none. And that was actually such a popular bridge, and it happened so often that they ended up building this huge gated structure that goes well above street level to make sure that people couldn't actually climb off the edge of this bridge. Unless, of course, you're Spider-Man. There's no way you're going to climb over this massive fence system that they built. And I remember my dad telling me stories from back in the 90s when he was working construction and they were working on that roadway. He said every morning there'd be at least 1 or 2 calls to that bottom of that bridge because someone had jumped or someone had done something. And it's scary. I mean, it's scary because you don't really realize how often stuff like that even happens until you're in an area where it's unfortunately a common place for that to be happening. So to hear him say that, and it was kind of like, what you start to think, what goes through someone's mind, what goes through someone's head being that person, but then not only that, also being the person to see it and arrive there to actually be there when it happens or after it happens. And I can't imagine what that does to the mental aspect of the paramedics, for example, that arrive on scene. You know what I mean? That can't be something any paramedic would ever want to say, hey, yeah, I first on scene today. And that's what I saw, a pancake on the train tracks,
Oh yeah, it's nuts.
It's crazy. And with that, the bridge thing, that's the only thing I could tie to it. And it wasn't even the same bridge, but I'm wondering could it have been a really weird vision that may have been triggered by something. But again, the thing that drives me up or drives me away from that theory is somebody else saw it and I don't know who that guy was and he doesn't know me. So the fact that I wasn't the only one makes me realize, okay, I'm not crazy.
Absolutely.
Someone else saw the same thing I did.
Yeah, I mean, that's wild. And especially when it would be something that emotional, I think, with suicide, for example. I firmly believe that if energy is created, and if you're that passionate and that emotional at that time, it's very possible that energy created is sticking around. Mm-hmm. And I know they have a lot of different kinds of paranormal activity. There's residual, there's active. I don't even know all the terms, but just things that I've heard from doing this show. A lot of different beliefs and that kind of stuff. And it sounds like that one, though, it could have been residual, where she just keeps doing the same thing over and over again, or the person on the bridge keeps doing the same thing over and over again. But then you said it might have been a warning because there was a car accident right after that, correct?
Yeah.
And so that's different. So that might not.
And that's the thing. So many things happen that there's a but this happened and but that happened and that and that. And it's like, okay, it's not just a matter of what I saw, it's what occurred after that, like the effects that it all had. And
Absolutely.
that's what drives me nuts, because I have no idea. I mean, I take it as a good thing, but
Oh, absolutely. It's one of those things too. So remember you said like you drove and it was a woman, right?
I don't know. It was just a black figure with a white flag.
I'm picturing a woman for some reason, but so a black figure you drove past and then it was gone. Then when you came back, it was there again. So like
and then when I passed under, I couldn't see it in my rear view, which was the weird part.
right. So like I feel there had to be some kind of sign or signal or warning saying, "Hey, get the hell out of here."
Yeah.
It's about to go down. And then when you came back, it's back saying, "Hey, you left once. What are you doing?"
Yeah.
That's kind of how I see it. I don't really know for sure, obviously, but it's definitely interesting. So with the stuff going on in your house right now, like what kind of feeling do you get from it? Do you like get like a deep, like in your chest gut feeling? Is it good, bad, negative, indifferent? Like what do you feel, do you think?
There's only been 2 cases in the last week where I honestly thought we were being broken into. And I always calm myself down knowing that I know the alarm is armed. If anything were to happen, the alarm would go off. There's no way it wouldn't. So it's like, I don't freak myself out or worry about it, but I do keep thinking, where is this coming from? Like, I keep hearing it as if it's banging on glass. And my front door, the front doors have 2 windows on them, but it always sounds like it's coming from the sliding door of the patio. And when I go look back there, I mean, you can't really see much because I have a ravine lot, so I'm facing a dark wooded area. So I mean, I can't really. There's a light I could flick on, but I can't really see that far in. And again, I mean, I don't expect to ever see anybody just standing there waving like, "Hey, can I come in?" But it's just a weird noise. Like it is always like a loud bang and loud enough to be able to catch my attention. And at one point, it was more like, okay, like this has to stop. It's getting annoying now. But now I've kind of got to a point where I'd feel weird if it didn't happen, as crazy as that sounds. Like it feels like it's become so routine that it's like, hey, my guests are here, I guess.
Fair enough.
They're chilling, doing their thing outside, and it is what it is. I don't know what else you could possibly do, really.
That makes sense. I get that a lot because when I first started doing the show, when I first talked about doing the show back in October of 2019, weird stuff happened all of the time. And then, like this past September, October, it was actually pretty quiet. So I understand that. I was like, where's all the knocks at? Where's all the where's the stuff at? So I get that, and I get excited when stuff happens because I know that I'm not crazy from before. Like after like a month of not hearing anything or seeing anything, I'm like, well, was I just fucking crazy for the last year and a half?
Yeah.
Or something happens, and I'm like, well, now there's some more validation. But yeah, it's pretty wild, man. So we got your cameras, we got bangs on your window, and didn't you tell me about a time that I think it was the same night as a sleep paralysis when you went downstairs? Didn't you feel like?
Yes. That was wow. Yeah, I forgot about that one. That was okay. So one of the nights where I heard the noise, I usually every time I hear it, I'll get up and go down just to make sure that the cats didn't knock over a plant or something. Like I'm always paranoid. I don't want to wake up to a surprise in the morning, so I'd rather I hear it now. Let me go down and have a look and see what it is. So this one here, I was going down the stairs, and about halfway down, it felt like my legs were tree trunks, like super heavy, could barely move them, and it's just like I froze in my tracks halfway down the stairs. And like it almost felt as if somebody was reaching through the steps and holding me down. Like it's like, no, you can't go any further. Like this is it. Like you can't take another step. And I kind of stopped there and I thought, okay, maybe my legs are numb. I don't know. Like, what is this? What's going on? So I got to the bottom of the steps and checked what I always check, glass of water, looked around, made sure nothing was broken, nothing was on the ground, nothing was missing, or none of the cats are dead. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
Everything's good. And as I'm going back up the steps now, at this point, I'm feeling a little kind of uneasy about it. So I've got holding onto the railing, and not at the beginning of the steps, again, almost at about a halfway point. As I'm holding onto the railing, it almost feels like someone's pulling my shirt to pull me back down. Not forcefully in any way, but enough that I could feel the pressure back. I didn't even bother turning around because I knew for a fact there was nobody behind me physically.
Right.
So I just kind of stopped and I kind of did, it's like, okay, what's going on? You kind of stop in your tracks, and it slowly took another step up, and like nothing happened, and I just went upstairs. Don't know what that was.
See, that you told me that, I think via text or whatever, and I was like, it could be because, you need energy. Paranormal things need energy. And I heard, one of the things is that they can drain it from you, or they drain it from somewhere, which is why a lot of times lights go out, flashlights dim out, camera batteries die really quickly, that kind of stuff. And so I've also heard on other stories and stuff that I've, heard around, that they can drain it from people as well. And so if you're walking down there, drained and being pushed or whatever, it could be paranormal,
Yeah.
One story my wife has that's similar to that, Danae. Oh, she was walking down the stairs one night, like at 4 a.m. or whatever. She actually woke me up because it scared her so bad. But she didn't feel it draining her, but she could feel something in the corner staring at her. And as she walked past that corner, she'd kind of the same thing. I'm an adult. This is ridiculous. I'm going downstairs. There's something in the fucking corner. So she walked past that corner, and as soon as she turned, she felt it lunge at her. She said it didn't touch her, but she could feel it come at her. If she ran to the kitchen, she said she did her thing, and then she worked the nerve to come back upstairs, and she woke me up. That's the only time she's ever woken me up in the middle of the night over something like that. Damn, it definitely scared her. I definitely believe she felt what she felt. It was pretty wild. And I was in this house probably maybe a year ago-ish, less than.
Yeah, that's I don't know how I'd react to that, because that's like you feel something come at you, but it's not there.
Right. Like, how do you do that? And I felt that, too, in a different scenario. And actually, I yelled at it. I physically said, "Get the fuck out of my house." And it left. It's one of those things you could feel the heaviness in your chest, and it left. It's crazy how that happens. You know what I mean?
Did you just see that?
Did it flicker?
No, Okay, so you see the difference? This?
Oh, yeah.
And that? So there's a switch all the way down here that turns these lights on and off.
This came on by itself?
And it literally just turned on. I always keep it off because it creates too much glare, and
look at that. Satisfied.
Now I'm wondering if it's on the same side as the laptop, and nothing is, like, the plugs aren't loose.
What's the switch like? Like, how do you turn it on?
It's like I can't pull it out of the frame here. It's a 3-button switch, so there's like an on, off, and a dimmer. So I can go brighter, lighter, but you got to press it. Like, there's no.
Yeah, man. So my EMF meter is not going off, but you have lights coming on and off by themselves. You can just keep that on your side. Josh saw that. Got the board watching. He said, "Yeah, he saw that." What the fuck? That's crazy. Actually, speaking of that too, with Josh, he was here once when, I think we've talked about it on the show before, actually, but he was here once we were recording an episode of RSH when we were still audio in the garage, and there was a doll in there, and it started shaking by itself. Him and Yvonne both saw it. That's wild. Yeah, that light definitely came on.
Yeah, like it doesn't make sense to me, because, like,
oh shit.
My hand's here. Like, I don't understand.
Holy shit.
I'm going to reach back and.
What is happening?
Like, I'm turning it on and off. I don't know if you hear the clicks. That's the button.
I didn't even hear a click that time. It just came on.
Oh, boy.
Wow. That's wild. So you need to get one of these in there, too. You need to get one of these, and you need to get some sage, I think.
I honestly, like, it I'm going to convince myself that there's some sort of a ground issue with one of the plugs in this house, because that doesn't make any sense that it would just up and turn on and off on its own while I'm just sitting here. Like, it
Well, here's a question for you. Has that ever happened to you before that you've noticed?
No, and I feel like I would notice that. I would notice the lights kind of switching on and off while I'm here, right? Like, it.
Something, right. I would think so. I would agree with that. That's wild, man. And I tell you, I've only experienced lights turning on and off by themselves. And the house I lived at for a year and a half, that was just turned on again. What is happening? Yeah, I lived in a house for a year and a half that was pretty fucking haunted. And in that house, we saw lights come on and off, but that was the only time. I'm going to butcher her name. Tasla.
She's going to kill you for that one.
Sorry. I only get it right when I'm drinking. I'm completely sober tonight. That's why I got it wrong. But she said she'd be moving from the Shit Show podcast.
So Tesla, if you're listening.
Tesla.
Talisa.
She's
going to kill us both for that one.
You know, it's just words. I don't know how to speak.
Yeah. I mean...
That's wild, man. Like, I don't even know what to really say about that. That was 3 times on the show that happened.
And the funny thing is I have the same set of lights on a different plug directly across from me that make light. So those are on, and they have not flickered at all. Those have stayed on. They're on a different plug with a different switch, but those are on. And I know that this room has four plugs, and they're all in the same circuit. It's a small bedroom that's been converted to an office. So I mean, if one is finicky, I feel like something else should be happening in here. Maybe not, but I mean, I'm looking down at the power bar that the plug is plugged into. My feet are nowhere near it. It's plugged in, nice and secure. Like there's no way.
Yeah, man. And
no explanation to it. Like I
it's something to note too. Just a few minutes ago, we were talking about threes. Now, we've heard that you hear things of threes, 3 bangings, whatever, and your lights came on by themselves 3 times tonight.
Shit.
That's hard to believe that's a coincidence. I don't want to scare you, but it's hard to believe that's a coincidence. You know what I mean? Especially if you've never seen them turn on by themselves before.
No, definitely not. Because I'm a bit of a geek, so like the whole house is automated. So, I mean, in order for me to have that happen, I would have had to have said, hey, Google, lights on. See, and that's not even working now. Hey, Google, lights off. Okay, see, so now everything just shut off around me. Hey, Google, lights on.
Okay.
And now they're on. But at no point in this conversation did I say that to trigger that to turn on. So that's the part that makes me
yeah, man. That's pretty rough.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, I'm saying it's cool, but it's validating though, right? Because you're saying stuff happening in your house, and while you're talking about it on camera, stuff's happening in your house. So that's definitely got to be, at least to be positive, validating, right?
And oh man, I will say this. On Sunday afternoon, my parents came by to visit. I hadn't seen them in a while, and my mom reminded me of my uncle. And I think she had said his anniversary had just passed or something. And I said, when was the last time you went to go see him? And she said it was a few months back and whatever. And I kind of told her, not in so much detail, but I told her about that whole he couldn't see in my dream, and I went to go see that. So I told her about that, and she started laughing, and she said, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. I said, you don't believe me. I said, but I am telling you, I cut a piece of cardboard away that was frozen on top of his stone. So, I mean,
right. Again,
weird that just this weekend she mentioned his name out of the blue. And now I got these lights playing games with me like that. Like, I don't know, man.
That's pretty wild. I mean, it's hard to buy that. It's hard to just, look away from, because I mean, clearly that's that cool. It's the timing is just too ridiculous to bypass, So there's something to that for sure. I told Danae that story. She didn't watch the episode. I told her to, and she's like, I will. Then she hasn't. But I told her your stories. And as soon as I was like, yeah, there was cardboard there, she's like, oh, he couldn't see. And like, she totally was into all of that.
Yeah.
She's pretty into it. So I'm like, yeah, there's something to that, man. So are you going to be freaked out tonight? I don't want to scare you, but you're going to be a little nervous tonight when we get out of here?
A little bit, because I don't know if you just noticed they turned off.
I didn't actually. I was looking at the comments. So man, so when we're done, can you send me a picture of that switch just so I can like know what it looks like?
Oh yeah. Actually, hang on. I'm going to do this without.
Oh, we're getting an insider look here. I dig it.
That.
Okay, so that's okay. Switch like that.
The top button.
Okay.
Now they're not turning on. This is so weird. But yeah, this top button usually turns them on. And then you got your dimming. Yep. And now they're not turning on anymore.
Huh.
So that's weird.
That is super weird.
Yeah.
Man, this is like a ghost hunt podcast right now because we're just seeing things happen in your office.
Well, normally that switch turns it back on, so I'm not sure why it's not coming back on now. But yeah, so it's a 3-button switch with 2 wires coming out of it. One goes to the wall, and the other one goes to the LED strip. So,
All right.
Yeah, it's clicking away, and it's not coming on.
I just can't get over that. Now, I have to ask, could your like kids or your wife be messing with stuff that would affect the lights in that room? You said your house.
No, because the switch is only here in the room, and the rest of the house is Apple stuff. So it's the Hey Google wouldn't work anywhere else, right? Like you'd have to be in this room to make that activate.
Right.
Yeah. So there's no way, like there's absolutely no way anybody could be messing with me right now.
Damn.
Except for somebody who's not here and is
somebody's there. It's just I'm just kidding. But yeah,
it doesn't make sense.
There it goes. Man.
Okay, so now with the switch it's working on and off. See what I mean? Like this is not
and it's never done that to you before that you can
I might return this thing to Amazon.
Reason for return, haunted.
Yeah. Something's wrong. And I don't want it.
fucking haunted. That's
yeah. Right. So I mean, and I don't know if I told you. I believe I told you last time that I did some research on this area, and the only thing this area has ever had is it was a horse farm, and back in the day, it was burial grounds for horses. But that's about it.
Yeah, you did mention that. I mean, and I want to think that would be haunted, but I mean, it could be, I suppose. I guess cemeteries and stuff like that. I don't know. And then we have a viewer, Sarah Jean, just popped up. That's weird. When I clicked on to this live, there was a warped sounding voice. I tried to recreate it by backing out, and it didn't happen then.
What?
So it sounds like
okay.
This is going to be an episode, I think, when I download the audio, I'm going to have to play it back with like some adjustments and see if there's anything.
Yeah. And I'd love to know at what point Sarah Jean, if you happen to know when,
like a time.
How long ago? Like right now it's 7:38 Eastern. I'd love to try to narrow down when this happened, because that's pretty messed up.
Absolutely. And doing that, a lot of times you hear stuff that I think I sent you that goat sound on accident, actually, but that was one that I heard playing it back.
I was listening to that when you sent it to me for the 3 knocks, and all I kept hearing was that sound, and I was like, he heard 3 knocks, but he didn't hear that. And right. I'm like, but I don't hear the 3 knocks. I said, this is kind of weird. And then when you said it was a different sound, I said, but you did hear that weird sound in your other one, right? Like that was not, I don't know what that was. Yeah,
I don't either. And that's an episode I was actually, because there were 2 different episodes. The episode with the 3 knocks was just me by myself talking for half an hour or whatever. With the goat, I was talking to a paranormal investigator from Florida. Actually, his team name is called OTR Paranormal, Over the Road Paranormal. He's a truck driver, really cool guy. But it's an episode with him, and then as I was listening back to do some quick editing, it popped up on the audio, and that looks different than the other audio, wavelengths or whatever. And I just heard a weird fucking goat. I don't know what it was. But he said he was in his truck and there was no animals around because he was parked inside of his truck bed or whatever. So I don't know, man. That was definitely weird. And then the knocking happened, and now your lights happened. But we did break that three spell there. It happened like 6
it's happened a few more times than 3. So
at least that part is good. And we have Sarah saying she heard weird things. My EMF meter has not gone off that I've seen. No,
nothing. Does that make a sound too, or is it just lights?
Just lights.
Lights.
It's just the light. It did kind of go off a minute ago, but if it's that light, I don't acknowledge it because it could be anything around it. It's like orange. I'm like, okay, that's some power. So, yeah, I don't know, man.
So weird, but I'm wondering if that would pick anything up being here, right? Like, I'm wondering, I need to get my hands on one of those things and see.
It could not be, but the only reason I do it, I started doing it just to do it to see what would happen. And there were full of times I talked to certain guests that it would, especially during certain stories. For example, I had her name was fucking terrible host. I can't think of the name off the top of my head now. But she had a book out about dreaming, and she has a lot of paranormal dream experiences where she sees ghosts in her dreams, or she, stuff like that. And as she was telling a story that happened when she was in Auschwitz, actually, she visited there, and she was telling me things that she saw there. As she was talking about that, this thing went crazy. And that was an early interview that I did, so that made me want to keep doing it. Because it was just, it went to red at one point, sitting by itself, but it was just that one particular story it just went crazy on. So, yeah. So that's why I keep it around, but again, I did kind of get out of it. But I wanted to have it out tonight because of your stories. But he's sticking with you, apparently. He's messing with your lights, not mine.
I don't know, man. And for some reason, I don't know why, and I hope this isn't me foreshadowing something, but that picture behind you has the date November 11th, 1970 on it.
It does.
And all day yesterday, and I can prove this because somebody at AEE has this. All day yesterday, I was convinced was November 11th. So I sent out a few content agreements yesterday to a few people. And I guarantee you, anybody who's listening, if you go look, the date in the top corner, I accidentally put was November 11th. And I was like, man, if anybody sees this, they're going to be like, this guy's writing a content agreement and it's forward dated. And when I realized that, I started changing it. But the very first few people who got it, I guarantee you, if you're listening, if you can please confirm, go look at that content agreement. And I'm pretty certain the top right corner says November 11th on it, which is pretty messed up.
That's pretty wild, man.
I think Josh was one of the first ones I sent it to, and I don't know if he's still listening, but
he said, yep. He says, I guess I'll take that as a confirmation. Fuck. That's weird too, man. And this poster's been there since, we moved into this house 2 years ago, but that's wild. That's just a weird coincidence.
I was just looking over your shoulder and I was like, what does that say? And I see November 11th and I was like, why? And I looked down at my time and I'm like, today's November 9th. But yesterday I was convincing myself it was the 11th to the point that I wrote it on all those forms.
Right.
And November 11th is going to be an interesting day because if I'm not mistaken, I believe that's also Remembrance Day.
Oh, is it? I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I'd have to look that up. But
I'm looking it up right now. I'm pretty sure November 11th.
That would make a lot of sense, I guess. While you look that up, Tesla says if I get attached from watching this, she's going to be pissed. That's correct.
So yeah, November 11th is Remembrance Day. And yeah.
That's a weird coincidence for sure.
That's going to mess with me, man.
So on the 8th, you thought it was the 11th. And on the 9th, you see November 11th while you're talking about all of your paranormal stuff, including your uncle, who obviously is a big part of that. Did it just turn off again?
No, that is still on.
Gotcha.
So that's hasn't happened again. But yeah, I keep saying Remembrance Day, forgetting that I'm in Canada. I believe down there it's Veterans Day.
Yep. Sarah, Jean, Veterans Day. Thank you very much there for that. I should know that, but I'm from the military, so I no longer have that day off for work like I used to, so I really don't remember these holidays anymore.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I'm going to be definitely paying attention a little more to what happens on that day, if anything does, because that, between me writing that yesterday and now me noticing that behind you today, Has that poster always been there? Is that always there on all your podcasts?
It is, but depending on who's here and what I'm doing, sometimes it might not be fully on, or it might be in a different part of the wall. It just depends how I adjust the camera for what I'm doing that night. But yeah, it's been there. I think that one probably makes most of them. But I mean, if you don't pay attention to it, you don't pay attention to it. It's
weird.
It is weird.
Weird.
Yeah, that's pretty wild, man. So I mean, we're 45 minutes in. Do you have any more stories for us?
No, not anything that I'm feeling right now. Like my mind just hit a wall.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like I can't even. My mind feels like it is literally there's something blocking me from thinking beyond this right now, and it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I do say if you don't like the ghostly, I'm not gonna say hauntings, but the ghostly things or whatever you're experiencing, like I said off air, I recommend sage all day. I should have brought a stick here just to show you what I have, but I have it in the bedroom right now because that's where we keep it because it's where we sleep and stuff. But yeah, I recommend just getting that cheap sage on Amazon, white sage, and just doing the house, and just as you're doing it, say leave that kind of stuff. Do it again. Yeah, the camera's off. When you put the camera back, it went down. So I don't see the bulb anymore, so I can't really tell now. But there we go.
Oh yeah. Oh okay. I see that. You don't see the strip.
Dude, that's wild. That is crazy.
And again, now I'm pressing the button to turn it on, and it's not.
It's all jacked up again.
So weird.
And yeah, because Sarah said it is a Friday the 13th this week, which is
great.
Something we don't do.
That's lovely.
Josh wants to go back to Josh has a bridge story as well. I need to go there yet and see if I can capture anything on all of our ghost hunting stuff.
He's got a bridge story?
He does. He's actually on the show. He was on. I think one of the first live AEE episode was with Josh, and it was a while back now. But yeah, he had a story from a crybaby bridge in this area. And he said he saw stuff. There it is. Now it's just like a common thing.
Just messing with me now. Like it
is. Yeah, I might unplug that if I were you. But I'll let you go, man. I appreciate you taking the time to come back to Paranormal Axetivities. I hope this does not prevent you from coming back again. And
no, I definitely want to do a follow-up. I will keep you informed if anything does happen on that November 11th day. I'm probably going to lose my mind. And I'm going to try to document stuff as it happens to try to see if I could piece some stuff together because none of this is making any sense to me right now.
Do you have any cameras? I know you have cameras outside. Do you have any in your house at all?
No, not inside. But what I can do is actually what I think I'm going to do is the one that is that was playing games with me yesterday. I can just kind of flip it and rotate it so that it's facing in my office rather than out the window. And I might leave that one and try to get that to record throughout the night and see what happens if it picks anything up, because this light switch thing, I'm curious to know if this light goes on and off throughout the night and I don't even know it.
That could be. That's fair. Man, I definitely recommend that. And
but I mean, it's never done that. And I'm in here 8 hours a day, sometimes 10, 11 hours a day.
Right.
Never.
That's wild. I definitely recommend documenting that. If you get anything, send it to me. It will be on social media because that'd be phenomenal.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, hey, again, I appreciate you. And we'll do a quick shout out to alleverythingentertainment.com, which is where we all live these days. You can watch Archie at Between the Pipes regarding hockey and so many more amazing videos. So here, just check out all of our live podcasts that we have right here at aee.com. right. I saw you mess with it. Did it do more stuff or?
No, that was me just making the Switch was working again. So I don't know.
Gotcha. That's all. I kind of want to end this just to keep watching that. That's
so weird.
All right, man. So, hey, again, watch your show every. What's going on in the hockey world right now? Anything crazy?
It's quiet right now. There's still, I believe, in the next week or so, they're going to be discussing the potential return. It's coming down to more of the money-hungry GMs or owners are starting to say, "Hey, we might be better off not playing at all, rather than playing and suffering the massive loss in revenue from not having fans in the arena."
That makes sense.
But now there's all kinds of stuff. Like today, I heard they're fast tracking a vaccine that may be available as early as January. And it's like, yeah, keep that away from me. Yeah, test that somewhere else, not here. So that might, implicate whether or not they actually start. And then there's the Summer Olympics that now they're talking about might get delayed again. And so much is in the air. But basketball is coming back, or that's the plan.
Sure.
At some point in December. So, I mean, hockey was supposed to be back in December. Then they immediately said that was being very ambitious and that it's probably not going to be till first week of January. Now I'm hearing potentially first week of February. So who knows? But I'm hoping I can get back on air starting hopefully mid-December with some news that about the return of hockey, at which point then Between the Pipes will be back on the air 7:30 p.m. Fridays. Until then, it's kind of dormant, I guess you could say.
Fair enough.
While we play the waiting game.
No, good deal. I mean, I know you. So, where can we find your show? Where can we find your social media? And where can we find your merchandise? If I was a better host, I'd put the merchandise down here, but here we are.
So the show itself, I mean, if you go to our website, that's alleverythingentertainment.com, and you click on the podcast section, there's actually all of our podcasts listed there. And if you go to each category, you can see what we've got available. And obviously, if you go over to the hockey one, you'll see all the past episodes listed. Since the first one, I think I've done 11 now. I don't even remember. And in there, in the articles, there's each podcast has a little bit of a brief description of what I talk about. And the link to the merch is available there as well. So feel free to take a gander over the next couple of weeks. Also thinking there's going to be some changes to our website, some more other things are going to be available. Perhaps I'm hearing some All Everything Entertainment merch.
Nice. Now we're talking. Hell yeah.
Yep. So I'm working on something with that, and that'll be readily available once that is up and running. You heard it here first. So keep checking our website out. And for anybody who happens to be on our website, I just want to be transparent here. If anybody happens to experience any sort of a slowdown, bear with us. We're growing, and that's all thanks to our listeners and viewers and readers. So as we go through all of that, rest assured that we're working behind the scenes to make sure that things keep up with how fast we're growing, also with regards to how fast our website processes things. So our president, Tim, has been working effortlessly over the last 3 days on minimal sleep, trying to get this all sorted out. So again, thank you for bearing with us when it comes down to website speed. We're on it. We know what's going on. We're definitely in the process of getting that sorted out for everybody. So the less time waiting and more time reading and watching our shows.
Hell yeah, absolutely. Well, we appreciate all of you guys taking all the time. I know you and Tim are both always working tirelessly. So awesome to hear. Huge thanks to AE, and a huge thanks to all of our listeners, all of our viewers, all of our readers. And yeah, let's go ahead and wrap this up. So guys, I appreciate you all watching, appreciate you all listening. And you heard it first right here. We have ghost happenings and merch in the mix. So hell of an episode. All right, guys, thanks again to Archie for taking time to hang out with us. And let's just keep learning about the paranormal together.
Sounds good. Have a good night, guys.